All right, ladies and gentlemen, I have with me here today, I have Dante Centofanti, former PSR radio show host. Now he is a TV2 personality. Dante, how are you, my man?
Brandon, I am great. I wish I was on here talking about something else, but unfortunately we have to discuss some tragedy. But I just wanted to say again how grateful I am for you asking me to be on the show today. Sorry if I'm a little late. I had to pay $5.25 for a cup of coffee. That's just, think about that though, $5.25 for a cup of coffee. It's good coffee, but
it's good coffee, but that's a lot for a cup of coffee.
It is, but I need it.
Yeah, well, Dante, like you said, unfortunately, we are here under the circumstances. About a week and a half ago, my man, we lost somebody who, we all kind of looked up to, and I think it affected us mostly because of the way it happened. We all know that we're supposed to pass on eventually.
Right.
But it is the way it happened. And, though, Dante, I said this too at the time of my show. I think a little bit, I think all the tributes and stuff are obviously great.
Mm-hmm.
But my problem with this whole situation is the way, and I know, we both work in media, obviously. I think the media has poorly handled the fact that it's not just Kobe. There were other people on that helicopter that passed away, and nobody else, to me, are talking about those other people. So I think that we need to really put that in perspective. Hey, there are other people here that have lost their lives as well.
I agree with that 100%. You will not get an argument out of me about that. But TMZ Sports was the one that reported the story, and where I was when it happened. By the way, where were you?
I was sitting in my dorm room, and I was just playing a game of Madden, and I got a text from my brother that just said Kobe died.
Yeah,
and I was like, "What?"
It was TV2 training day, and all of us in the sports department and everybody at TV2, we were in the newsroom, and we were just finishing up actually, and it was just at the end of training, and then I get something in the TV2 group me, and it's a thing from my the sports department group me. It's a thing from my friend and colleague Ian Herman. Shout out to him. He's great. He plays on the Kent State Club hockey team. He's great, and he made 6 o'clock sports anchor this semester, which is great. Congratulations to him. He's really good, and he's a really good guy. And he put in the group chat, Kobe Bryant just died in a plane crash. Just as blunt as that, Kobe Bryant just died in a plane crash, and I immediately didn't want to believe it. I was shocked, as everybody was. Everybody was shocked. The whole newsroom went just quiet. Even people who, I was in a conversation about Portage Pulse, our official political news show. I was in a conversation with, my new, my new co-anchor Aaron about what we were going to do this first week, and I just immediately I felt rude and bad about it. I later apologized, but she said, "No, you were fine," because everybody was feeling like that. I just immediately shifted my focus to this. Kobe, just seeing TMZ Sports report at first, I'm like, okay, this has to be a hoax because I've seen reports like this before. Okay, so-and-so died, so-and-so just is doing this, so-and-so is doing that. This is the era of media and journalism that we're in, is where stuff like this happens and can be lied about and photoshopped. And because it was TMZ Sports, I didn't believe it because, like me and you, I don't know about you, but I don't consider TMZ to be a legitimate sports reporting industry. And I really don't consider them to be in general reporting industry. I look at them as a thing that a source that harasses celebrities in Hollywood. I don't look at them as something that gives news.
I call it the era of everybody just wants it out first and not getting it right.
Not getting it accurate.
It is,
really upsets me.
This is where I get upset because, as you know, we are both journalism majors. But as I have always said, I hate to say it, but I hate the industry I'm in. Just because, I love it and I hate it at the same time because I don't feel like people just... They don't care anymore. They just want to get it out and get it right. And it's not right what's going on in the world today.
This is what we had Brian Stelter from CNN in the newsroom last year this semester. And Brian Stelter's, he hosts Reliable Sources every Sunday on CNN, and he was here speaking. He spoke at the First Energy Lecture Hall. And he discussed when he broke the news of Anthony Bourdain. Anthony Bourdain, You know who Anthony Bourdain is, right?
I actually do not know.
You don't? Oh,
No.
he's a former CNN he's a former CNN reporter, personality. He did stories, traveled around the world, and gave like really interesting things. He was a great reporter and very great person. And he talked about the time he broke the news of his death, his suicide, his tragic suicide, and he took a step-by-step through the process of reporting breaking news and deaths like that. And he said, I first wanted to make sure, obviously, it was true because it was my good friend and my good colleague, and this was just a good person in general. And it was confirmed, and he was devastated, and he had to get himself together and be professional to report this news. But then, most importantly, he had to make sure that his family knew about it. Because nobody wants to know that their loved one has passed away, or their friend, their father, etc. Anybody on television, radio, before they get it, like, as a person.
Well, my thing is TMZ reported it before the families even knew.
Exactly.
That's my whole issue with it.
But do you see what I'm saying? Like,
yes,
that's like what a professional does. However, I don't know if you're a Republican or if you're a conservative, but that's how reporting on a death is done.
Right.
That's how that's the right thing to do, journalistically and morally, just as a person.
Correct.
And I'm with you 100%. Journalism, our field, was the industry, as they say, wasn't the best that day. But I did think ESPN, because I watched all of their coverage, because as soon as I rushed home from that meeting, I didn't want to believe it. But then when I saw it on ESPN, Adrian Wojnarowski, Ramona Shelburne, like people that know Kobe Bryant and have covered him like a book, his whole career, people like Ramona Shelburne. But watching ESPN, just looking at the people in our industry that I really look up to, the good ones that you and I look up to, like Michael Wilbon, Ramona Shelburne is somebody who I really appreciate. And I really felt terrible for Ramona Shelburne because they had that journalist-athlete relationship that you and I want to have one day.
Right.
And Ramona Shelburne grew up in L.A. She knew about Kobe's impact on L.A. And you could just tell she was devastated. Stephen A. Smith, my all-time idol.
Absolutely.
I don't know if you saw his first reaction, but he looked a mess, and I felt terrible. But this is the thing, though. They still... Everybody at ESPN, as much as there were flaws that day, Brandon, ESPN did a very, very good job, I thought, of honoring Kobe the best they could, because we are the sports network. When stuff like this happens, people like CNN and NBC, Washington Post are going to look to us as, okay, we're going to take your lead on this. How do you want us to do this? And ESPN said, okay, this is how you should do it. We're going to bring these reporters on that knew him. We're going to bring these guys on so-and-so, and we're going to honor Kobe in the best, and his daughter Gianna in the best way possible. But to just finish on the journalism aspect of that day, it wasn't the best, but I thought ESPN did a very good job and gave me and you, a blueprint on how to handle and honor something like this.
Absolutely. Okay, so Dante, really quickly, speaking of honoring Kobe.
Yes.
What are your thoughts? Because I do not like the fact that they have changed the All-Star Game format. I do not think that Kobe would want that.
Kobe Bryant, first of all, Kobe Bryant, the impact that he had, you need to understand, Brandon, and I know you're a big basketball fan, like I am, but the impact that he had on the sport, he had the impact of Michael Jordan, Dr. J, Bill Russell, LeBron James. He had that cultural impact, and it wasn't just his playing impact. He had the cultural impact. The Mamba mentality was a real thing, and it still is a real thing. And I just think that however the NBA and Adam Silver and the All-Star Game want to honor Kobe Bryant, I think that they're thinking to themselves, what would Kobe Bryant value the most? And I think he would value that.
To me, I don't. I understand the fact that they are going to wear his jerseys and do all that celebrate, but now you're actually changing the way the way an NBA game is played for one night. I understand
Brandon, it's the All-Star Game.
But it's still a game. That's the point. This now is not a game. Resetting the score and going.
Brandon, they did that with picking the teams like the last 2 years. They changed the All-Star Game. They've been playing with it for years.
Picking the teams is not the same as the game. The game is the game. Right?
Right.
The game is the game. I don't care how you want to. I don't care if you want to divide it up East versus West, how they did it in the past or how they're doing it now. But what I'm saying is the intention of the game is still the game, and it should be played as a regular NBA game. 12 minutes, 4 quarters, 48 minutes. That is not what's happening this year.
Yeah.
That's my issue with it. That is my issue with it. I don't have an issue with everything they're doing
Right, of course not.
pregame. My issue is what they're doing with it during the game. The game itself should not be changed. When that ball goes up in the air, that's the way the game should be played. 48 minutes, and let's do it for Kobe. Let's put on a show for Kobe. Let's not change the game for him. Let's play it the way it was intended to.
Brandon, I could get into what I think the All-Star game should try in terms of format all day long.
There's no need to change the format. That's my point.
But it's okay to. I think it's okay to experiment because, Brandon, you need to understand that the All-Star game, in players' minds, isn't as I feel like it's not as important.
See, but that's the issue. That is the issue. It should be important. It should be important. That's what I remember growing up, is watching the All-Star game, watching all my favorite players. Now, it's a joke across all sports, not just the NBA. It's a joke across all sports. People are taking it seriously. Why do we even have it?
Well, I think we should. I think the NBA should always. They should have the home court advantage, like baseball used to have. If the AL wins, they get home field advantage. Like baseball's All-Star game.
That I agree with. And baseball's All-Star game is now ruined because they don't have that.
Yeah, and I agree 100%. And I think the NBA should do that. And the Pro Bowl, I think they should dismantle the Pro Bowl. But, well, not all pro selections, but like they should just dismantle the Pro Bowl game in general. And the NHL All-Star game is like pulling teeth. And I don't know how you feel about that. And the Reese's Bowl or
I know nothing about hockey, so I'm not even going to comment on hockey.
But bottom line is, I think it's a good way to honor Kobe Bryant. And Brandon, I don't think it's worth getting honestly worked up over, but
I'm going to agree to disagree.
Let's just agree to disagree.
All right, so I'm going to move on here because we got about give or take about 10 minutes left. I want to talk to you tomorrow. Of course, obviously 3 p.m. is the NBA trade deadline. Look, I don't care what happened to this trade deadline.
There was a trade last
right.
Clint Capella trade finally.
I know that, and to be honest, I don't love it for Houston. I
got Robert Covington.
Where's your rim protection now, though?
Robert Covington, he was all defense.
They got rid of Capella and Nene.
Yeah, I don't.
Who are you going to guard?
Yeah, I don't. Well, Covington was all defense.
Right, but he's a wing player.
Yeah, I understand, but I'm with you. I don't like the trade. I don't think it's good for Houston. I think Daryl Morey, and it's surprising because Daryl Morey's basketball IQ is to the roof, and this one time
they are a very analytically driven organization, and I like analytics. But sometimes analytics get you into trouble.
Yeah.
I like numbers. I've always said this. I like numbers. But sometimes when I need to make a decision, I test.
I'm what you say, Brandon. I'm a moderate when it comes to analytics. I think it's necessary, but at the same time, there's times where it's not necessary.
Right, I completely agree with you.
But Daryl Morey I don't like this move. I don't like it for Houston. It's good for Atlanta. It's good for Minnesota, getting some picks. But I don't see how this works out for Houston. I mean, you're an NBA. You're trying to win the West. And
they're what I call a fake contender in the West.
Yeah, but they still, when you have Russell Westbrook and James Harden on the same team, it's
wait a minute, who have choked for the last 3 years.
I'm with you. They're underachieving.
So right now, I got the standings right in front of me. Right now, they're the 5 seed. They would be playing the Jazz in the first round. Who on their team could guard Rudy Gobert? I'm just going to throw it down to them every time.
Yeah.
Now they don't have a center. Yeah, at least I understand Capella can't shoot. But he was a giant rim protector. He got you 15 to 20 rebounds a game.
Yeah.
He was a big man in the middle, and that's what gives people problems now.
When you play the Nuggets.
Yeah.
Nuggets, that's even bigger problem.
You play the Lakers with AD.
Yeah.
I mean, my Lord. All right, so
I'm with you, Brandon.
So speaking of the Lakers.
Yes, my Lakers, yes.
Do you think they need to make a move? And if they do, who would you like for them to target?
Derrick Rose. Derrick Rose without question. Derrick Rose is who they need right now. Derrick Rose, They just need to have more depth. I love this team. I think this team can win the West. I think this team could beat the Clippers in a 7-game series. Frank Vogel, I think we need to give Frank Vogel props because me and a lot of other people thought Frank Vogel wouldn't be this far. But we have not heard rumors of Frank Vogel and LeBron getting into arguments. They're on the same creative path dialogue. Jason Kidd, I told you this before as a guest on your show. I thought Jason Kidd was just going to replace Vogel, and I couldn't stand the fact that they had both of the candidates they looked at for head coach, but you have one at head coach, one at assistant. And it would be one thing if they were already on the team, on the staff. But I've told you that. I've told you that. But it's just been such a good system. The coaching has been very good. I think we need to give props to Frank Vogel and Jason Kidd. And LeBron obviously is a leader. Again, I like their depth. I would just love if DeMarcus Cousins was healthy, because I think if DeMarcus Cousins was healthy, they would be the best team in the NBA record-wise. But they do not, unfortunately. But if they get Derrick Rose, somebody who's cut from the same cloth as LeBron's somebody who just loves the sport and loves the characters and the ambiance of players in the sport, and Derrick Rose epitomizes that to the max. And I think LeBron is pushing hard for, Rob Pelinka to get Derrick Rose. And I think Rob Pelinka is hesitant. And he needs to stop being hesitant, because the Lakers need Derrick Rose in that locker room. They need Derrick Rose on the floor. And Derrick Rose, to me, can propel them. They just, that one little half inch they need.
All right, Dante, I got 2 more questions for you really quickly here.
Yes.
First question. The Cavs are a mess.
Yeah.
What would you do? I want to just trade the farm. I don't care. I'd give the Lakers our whole team for free. And just the team is a mess. Half those guys don't respect Coach John Beilein. Kevin Love wants out. Tristan Thompson wants out. It's a mess. If you are Kobe Altman, what do you do tomorrow?
Well, I think the Lakers. This is the thing. The Lakers don't have anything. The Lakers want Kevin Love. LeBron James wants Kevin Love on his team, and for good reasons. But the Lakers They got to pay AD this summer. They are not taking on that contract. Again, Kobe Altman, they need to fire Kobe Altman. Kobe Altman is not a good GM. Kevin Love would be gone already if it wasn't for this contract. Nobody wants this contract. I understand Kevin Love wanted to stay in Cleveland. I understand he wanted to remain a Cavalier. But now he wants out, rightfully so. I understand that. But you have this contract. And I'm not hating on Kevin Love for signing that contract. I'm hating on Kobe Altman for offering it to him, because, number one, he does not deserve that much money.
Can I argue that it wasn't Kobe Altman? Because I do think that Dan Gilbert has a lot to do with it.
It's obviously he does, but Kobe Altman is the GM, and you can fire the GM. You can't fire the
owner. But at the end of the day, is Kobe Altman just a GM title? Is Kobe Altman really running the team?
They need a new vision, because the Cleveland Cavaliers, from the perspective of the league, it's LeBron James.
This is the Cavs for the last. This is the Cavs since 2000. It has been without LeBron. They are absolutely a terrible, poorly ran, terrible team.
And it's because, and you want to know why that is, Brandon? It's because of the mindset. LeBron James is amazing. We love him. He's the GOAT. He's the greatest player in the history of the Cavaliers franchise. But if you look back to people who actually know the history of basketball, in the 80s, the Cavaliers were the best run franchise in the NBA, and if it wasn't for a man named Michael Jeffrey Jordan, they would have made it to the finals more than one season, with Mark Price, with Brad Daugherty, with World Beef, with those guys. And to have Lenny Wilkens as your head coach, they had structure. Ted Strickland is the owner. They had structure. They scouted well, they built teams, and they had a good mindset. And people liked going to Cavs games, and people enjoyed it. The Cavs have one of the nicest, most beautiful new renewed arenas in the NBA. They need to say to themselves, we need to change the attitude of our franchise, because we can't keep thinking to ourselves, we can't win without LeBron James. You just can't think like that. You can't think like that if you're a franchise, and Dan Gilbert needs to understand that.
He needs
to put people at the GM spot and in coaching that understand that.
I don't think Dan Gilbert thinks that. I actually think Dan Gilbert thinks that this team is a contender and they're just underachieving.
They have pieces that they have. They have pieces. Colin Sexton is great. Darius Garland is great. Michael Porter Jr. is great. Cedi Osman is a good basketball player.
I mean, it's
just these contracts. These contracts.
All right, we got to move on here to the last question, because we got about a minute and a half left. I want to ask you. So I'm watching the Super Bowl Sunday, right?
course, like everybody.
That guy, Patrick Mahomes, I think he's on GOAT. I think he's on GOAT trajectory. What are your thoughts? Because I think at the end of the day,
he's on pace, and it's rare that you say like a player's on pace. You know what I mean?
He's on pace right now.
He's on pace to be the greatest quarterback of all time.
Not even greatest. I think he's on pace to maybe be the greatest player ever. You look at his numbers right now. What we call the GOAT right now, Tom Brady. You know, Mahomes has more touchdowns and less interceptions than Brady had at this point in his career.
Yeah. Pat Mahomes. You know, like I said, stats. You look at the stats. You look at the records that he set. You look at his ability, and you look at the fact that he's now a Super Bowl champion in only his second season as a starter.
Absolutely.
And like I told you, it's rare when we talk about an athlete and say in his third or second year, this guy's on pace to be the greatest ever. I mean, I don't even think we said that about Michael Jordan. We knew he was special, but people said that about Michael Jordan. They said he was obviously special, and he's taking over the league, and he's the new face, but we didn't think to ourselves, this guy's on pace to be the greatest basketball player of all time. You know what I'm saying? I'm looking at Pat Mahomes, even with Joe Montana and Tom Brady. We knew they were special, but we didn't think they would be GOATs until, like, you know, when they hit the prime of their career. Then we think, okay, where do they rank all time? Pat Mahomes has the ability to be the greatest quarterback of all time, and that's not to be questioned. He's different. And the Undefeated, one of my favorite sports websites, they've had pieces all season that this is the year of the black quarterback, and Pat Mahomes is the architect of it. And there is nothing more true than that, because Pat Mahomes is the best. And Pat Mahomes is a culture setter. He is somebody who's turning a new page in NFL history, and it's just awesome to see. It's awesome to see, Brandon.
All right, Dante, sounds good. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we have to take a break. Dante, I appreciate you for coming on.
Thanks, Brandon.
Coming up next to the top of hour 2. I love you too, my man. Coming up next to the top of hour 2, I'm going to be going over the recap of the end of our season, where I got my predictions right and where I got them wrong. And my Eagles, where do they go next? This is a very important offseason for them. I will talk about that top of the hour. Coming up on Brandon's World. Thanks, Dante.